The heat wave had rolled into Maple Glen, the kind of mid-sized American town where the summers were loud with lawnmowers, porch fans, and kids yelling at each other from inflatable backyard pools. The air shimmered like it was holding its breath, each block wrapped in that slow, syrupy warmth that made people buy iced drinks at a rate that filled half the recycling bins on any given Tuesday. On this particular Saturday morning, Evan Carter stepped out of his one-story ranch-style home on Ashford Lane, squinting at the already blazing sunlight. Evan was in his mid-30s, worked in accounting, and possessed the exact type of dad bod that suggested he exercised only when the doctor's tone became concerned. What he lacked in muscle tone, he made up for in what he called his crisis-ready optimism, which was really just a nice way of saying he panicked slightly slower than most. He tugged on the bottom edge of his navy blue t-shirt, one with a graphic of a raccoon triumphantly holding a donut, and locked the front door behind him. His neighborhood smelled like cut grass and warm asphalt, the kinds of smells that stuck to a summer weekend like an Instagram filter. Across the street, Mrs. Rowley was already out watering her petunias, wearing a wide-brimmed hat and those oversized sunglasses that made her look like she was trying to evade paparazzi. "Morning, Evan," she called out, waving her hose around with reckless, sprinkler-like precision. "Morning. Hope you're staying hydrated," Evan replied, mostly because it sounded like something responsible adults said. "Oh, honey, at my age I'm basically 60% lemonade," she said, laughing at her own joke so hard she sprayed her mailbox. Evan chuckled and climbed into his silver Honda Crossing V, one of those models that always had at least one water bottle rolling around on the floor. He cranked the AC like he was trying to cool down the surface of the sun and pulled out of the driveway. His mission today was simple: stock up on groceries. Maple Glen's biggest grocery store, SunnyMart, had posted a huge banner on its website advertising a sale on produce and grilling supplies. And Evan, being someone who loved a deal more than he loved actually cooking, could not resist. The drive took only 10 minutes. SunnyMart was the kind of store that looked like every other suburban grocery chain in the country: wide automatic doors, a row of shopping carts with at least 3 rogue ones parked diagonally like rebellious teenagers, an overhead sign about summer savings, and a parking lot so hot you could fry an egg on a shopping cart handle. Evan parked under the only small patch of shade created by a skinny tree that looked exhausted by its job. He stepped out, stretched, and made his way to grab a cart. The first one he grabbed had a wobbly front wheel. The second one screeched like an opera singer hitting a bad high note. The third one rolled smoothly, which made Evan suspicious, but he took the win and headed inside. SunnyMart was bustling. Families wrangled kids who demanded popsicles. Older couples compared corn prices like sports analysts. College students in pajama shorts debated whether cooking chicken counted as self-care. The store's AC blasted at a level that could be described as Arctic conference room, and Evan instantly felt a chill crawl across his sweat. He zigzagged through the store efficiently. Bananas. Check. Chicken breasts. Check. More chips than any adult should admit to buying. Double check. By the time he reached the dairy aisle, his cart looked like it belonged to someone preparing for a barbecue, a storm, and a minor identity crisis all at once. The trouble started near the checkout lanes. SunnyMart's front entrance had big windows, and the summer heat poured through them like a spotlight. As Evan rolled closer, the right front wheel of his cart began to rattle. Not terrible, but enough to vibrate his soul. He tried lifting the wheel slightly while pushing, but after 2 seconds his lower back politely informed him this was not sustainable. He glanced around and noticed a small crowd had formed near the entrance. People weren't exactly panicking, but they had that "something is happening and we will rubberneck it respectfully" look. Evan's curiosity was piqued, but just as he leaned his head to see, disaster struck his own cart. The cart jerked forward, tilted slightly, and then, because every comedic story must respect gravity, tipped sideways in spectacular, slow-motion fashion. "Oh no 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 no," Evan gasped, reaching out uselessly like someone trying to stop a falling bookshelf with vibes alone. In an instant, apples rolled like marbles. A bag of hamburger buns popped open and shot out onto the floor like soft grenades. His carton of cold brew slid under the row of impulse buy freezers. A bag of chips actually ripped midair, showering the area in a festive confetti of sea salt crunch. He stood there frozen, one hand on the cart, the other stretched out into space, looking like a bystander in his own life. A little girl passing with her mom whispered loudly, "Mom, is that man okay?" Her mom sighed sympathetically. "Sweetie, adulthood is like that sometimes." Evan rubbed his face. "Yep, sounds about right." He knelt to start picking things up, But every time he grabbed something, 3 more items rolled further away. A lemon bumped into his shoe. A yogurt tub spun like it was auditioning for a cooking show. His bag of frozen peas played a game of bumper cars against the freezer door. And then, like a superhero entrance powered by iced tea and pure friendliness, Laura Henderson swooped in. Laura was in her late 30s, lived 2 streets over from Evan, and possessed that natural small-town social charisma that made her friends with literal strangers. She was dressed in a coral tank top, denim shorts, and sandals that somehow didn't bend even when she walked fast. Her curly hair was tied in a loose ponytail, and she smelled faintly of sunscreen and optimism. "Oh my goodness, Evan. Did the cart declare mutiny?" She laughed, already crouching to help gather produce. "It betrayed me," Evan said seriously. "I trusted it." Within seconds, more help arrived. Mr. Patel, the retired chemistry teacher. Jenna, the 19-year-old cashier with a sunny disposition and a wrist full of friendship bracelets. 2 teenage brothers, clearly excited for a new story to tell later. And a tall guy named Marcus, whom Evan vaguely recognized from the town's community center. It was a full-blown rescue mission. "Bananas secured," Jenna announced, placing him carefully in the cart. "I found your cold brew," Marcus said, pulling the runaway carton from under the freezer with a victorious flourish. Mr. Patel handed Evan the yogurt tub. "Still intact," he said. "Unlike your confidence." The teenage brothers gathered every stray apple with the intensity of an Olympic sport. Laura placed the hamburger buns gently on top of the cart and said, "See? Nothing we can't fix." Evan looked at the little circle of neighbors around him, some he knew, many he didn't, and felt embarrassment melt into something far warmer. Community. The kind that small towns did well. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "Really, I feel like I owe you all pizza or something." The teenage brothers perked up instantly. "We accept," one said. The other nodded enthusiastically. Everyone laughed. Of course, this moment of wholesome bonding was interrupted by the sound of a loud thunk from near the big windows. The rubbernecking crowd murmured. Evan glanced over again, and finally saw the source of the commotion. The front automatic doors were malfunctioning. They kept trying to open and close but only managed to stutter halfway like a robot having an identity crisis. Every time someone approached, the doors jittered like they were reconsidering their life choices. The grocery manager, a short guy in a polo shirt named Eric, stood beside them looking like a man questioning every career decision he'd ever made. But that was a problem for later. For now, Evan's cart was righted and mostly reassembled. Laura dusted off her hands. "Well, considering the chaos behind you, your situation isn't even the worst thing happening today." Evan exhaled a laugh. "I'll take it." He rolled the cart, carefully, cautiously, toward the checkout, flanked by his newfound support squad. As he reached the register, Mr. Patel said, "You know, Evan, sometimes things fall apart just to reveal who's around to help you pick them back up." Evan raised an eyebrow. "Did you just motivational poster me?" Mr. Patel smirked. "Oh no, far worse. I retired. Now I have time to say things like that." Evan laughed and shook his head. He paid for his groceries, double-bagged the items that looked traumatized, and thanked everyone again. The whole ordeal left him tired, amused, and strangely uplifted. The kind of exhausted happiness that felt like stepping into a sea after mowing the lawn. Outside, the summer sun hit him full force. The heat rose off the pavement in ripples, and a pair of cicadas screamed aggressively from a nearby tree like they were protesting the existence of humidity. Evan's cart wobbled a little, but he was ready this time. He braced it with both hands like a man walking an overly energetic dog. He made it halfway to his car before one of the wheels squealed in rebellion again. "Not today," he muttered. "We are not going through that twice." A voice behind him called out, "Need a hand, Evan?" It was Laura again, carrying her reusable grocery bags with ease. She wasn't even sweating. Evan suspected she might be 10% fire hydrant pressure, 90% good vibes. "Sure," he said. "Before this cart files for emancipation." They reached his car without further incident. As they lifted the last bag into the trunk, Evan smiled gratefully. "Seriously, thanks again." "Anytime," Laura said. "Besides, today's chaos may turn into tomorrow's funny story." Evan nodded slowly. "You know, I think you're right." He didn't know just how right she was, because scene 2 would turn the day into something far more meaningful than a simple grocery spill. The drive home from SunnyMart took longer than usual. Not because of traffic, but because Evan Carter could not shake the feeling that the universe had tapped him on the shoulder. The grocery cart catastrophe had been equal parts humiliating and hilarious, yet something about the way his neighbors jumped in made the embarrassment feel lighter. Like the whole thing had been engineered just to show him that even disasters came with silver linings shaped like people. As he pulled into his driveway, the late morning sun had intensified, spreading a warm glaze over the cul-de-sac. It was the kind of suburban heat that made garden hoses warm for the first 3 seconds and turned plastic lawn chairs into griddle surfaces. Evan popped open his trunk, carefully unloading a grocery bag that still looked mildly traumatized. Across the street, Mrs. Rowley lifted her sunglasses. "Back from battle? You could say that," Evan replied. "Did you at least win?" "Eventually." "Good boy," she said, approvingly, and resumed her petunia interrogation. Evan shook his head, chuckling. Inside, his house felt cool and dim after the summer glare. He put groceries away while mentally replaying the cart incident. Each item he stacked in the fridge reminded him of someone who had helped him gather it. Laura with the buns, Marcus with the cold brew, the teenagers chasing apples like they were training for a fruit-based Olympics. He stopped with the fridge door still open. A weird warmth filled his chest. It wasn't pride. It wasn't embarrassment. It was gratitude. And something else. A tiny tug. Like today was not done with him. He set down the last bag and wiped his forehead. "Okay," he said to himself. "Let's not overthink it." But that lasted approximately 6 minutes. Because 6 minutes later, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Laura H. Neighbor, hey. Quick question, how do you feel about helping with a little community delivery run?" "Will explain." Evan blinked. His inner introvert whispered, "Run." His outer human typed back, "Sure." 30 seconds later, she replied, "Great. Be there in 10 minutes. Evan froze. "Oh no," I agreed too fast. He considered hiding but remembered he was an adult and also that his blinds were open. So he splashed water on his face, changed into a clean t-shirt, "Be nice or leave," and waited. 10 minutes later, a cheerful knock echoed through his house. Evan opened the door to find Laura standing there holding a cooler bag with the confidence of someone leading a summer charity parade. She was smiling that bright, effortless smile that made people agree to things before fully understanding them. "Ready?" she asked. "For what?" Evan finally said. "A kindness run." "A what?" "We're delivering cold drinks and small snacks around town today. For free. Kind of a small kindness challenge I do every summer. It's something my mom started when I was a kid." Evan blinked. "You deliver snacks to random people?" "Not random. People who look like they're having a rough day." "That's worse," he said. "You want me to detect sadness in strangers?" Laura laughed. "No, I just want help carrying the cooler bag." "Oh, that's okay, that's manageable." She handed him a second cooler bag. It was surprisingly heavy. "What's in this thing?" "Frozen bowling balls, bottled water, lemonade cups, and homemade mini blueberry muffins." "Ah, so emotional support carbs." "Exactly." They walked out to the sidewalk, the cicadas screaming overhead like nature's version of heavy metal guitarists. The heat wrapped around them like a warm blanket from someone with no concept of boundaries. "Why do you do this?" Evan asked as they walked. "The kindness run." "Well," she said, swinging her cooler bag lightly, "you know how some days feel like everything's out to get you. Like spilled coffee or dropped keys or a certain grocery cart tipping over." He laughed. "Okay, low blow." She grinned. "My point is, sometimes a tiny kind gesture interrupts that negative momentum. It flips the energy, makes the day salvageable." Evan let that sink in. "Kinda like how all of you helped me earlier." "Exactly like that." They reached Maple Glen's small downtown strip, a row of brick-fronted shops that looked charming even when mildly melting under the sun. An ice cream truck jingled somewhere in the distance. A gaggle of teenagers sat outside the comic book store talking loudly about a new superhero movie. Cars crawled down Main Street, tires hissing against the hot asphalt. Laura immediately spotted their first target, a middle-aged delivery driver unloading boxes behind a bakery, wiping sweat from his forehead with his shirt. "See, that guy needs a drink," she whispered. Evan squinted. "Or a vacation." "Same thing." They approached the man. "Hi there," Laura chirped. "Would you like a cold lemonade?" "On the house. We're doing a summer positivity drop-off." The driver looked baffled but pleased. "Seriously, that's really nice of you." Evan pulled out a lemonade cup like a medic handing over emergency supplies. "Here you go. It's cold enough to fix your mood." The man laughed, took the drink, and said, "Bless you too. My day just got 50% less terrible." As they walked away, Evan felt a strange, unexpected spark of satisfaction. That actually felt good, he admitted. See, said Laura, kindness has a boomerang effect. They continued their route. They gave ice-cold water to a group of kids selling chalk drawings on the sidewalk. They offered muffins to 2 overwhelmed tourists holding a map upside down. They handed lemonade to a jogger who immediately stopped running to chug it in one gulp. They gave a muffin to a crying toddler at the park, whose mood improved so dramatically that his mom looked at them like they had performed sorcery. Evan found himself relaxing, even enjoying the absurdity of it. Laura made every exchange feel natural and cheerful. Her energy was contagious. Around noon, they reached the last batch of muffins. Evan's shirt was sticking to him, his hair was frizzing from humidity, and his legs felt like wet linguine, but he felt good. Then Laura spotted something across the street. Oh, she said, we should go help him. Evan followed her eyes. Standing beside a tipped-over grocery cart, yes, another one, was Marcus, the same guy who helped retrieve Evan's cold brew earlier. Only this time, his cart had toppled sideways in the parking lot of the hardware store. You've got to be kidding me, Evan muttered. The scene was dazzlingly familiar. Rolling produce, runaway cans, Marcus staring in disbelief like a man watching his dignity evaporate. A bag of potato chips had even burst in sympathetic solidarity. That's karma, Evan said. That's opportunity, Laura corrected. They hurried over. Marcus, Laura called. Need help? He looked up, half laughing, half exasperated. I swear this wasn't my fault. Evan pointed at the grocery carnage. Believe me, I know this pain intimately. The three of them burst out laughing. They got to work picking everything up. Evan grabbed a runaway lime. Laura caught a yogurt cup mid-roll. Marcus rescued a tomato before it rolled into the street. A little kid from the sidewalk yelled, "Drop those carts, people!" Which didn't make sense but was encouraging anyway. Within minutes, the cart was upright again. Marcus wiped his forehead. You two are lifesavers. Evan smirked. Welcome to the club of people who have lost battles with carts. Laura added, it's a very exclusive club. Marcus chuckled. I wasn't even having a bad day until this happened. But, honestly, this made it better somehow. That's the magic of shared humiliation, Evan said. Laura elbowed him lightly. And kindness. They handed Marcus a bottle of lemonade as a farewell gift, then headed toward Maple Glen's small river park, the final stop of the run. The park hugged a gentle bend of the river, shaded by tall sycamore trees that rattled overhead like natural wind chimes. Families picnicked. Dogs dragged their owners toward squirrels they would never catch. A group of seniors power walked with fierce determination. They sat on a bench under a tree, catching their breath. Evan leaned back, the cooler bag empty beside him. Okay, I'll admit it. This was a good idea. Glad you think so, Laura said, smiling softly. This morning felt like a disaster, Evan said. But now, it feels like a reset. That's what summer is for, she said. Heat, chaos, community, and second chances. And carts that hate me, he added. Those too. They laughed. A warm breeze slipped through the park, carrying the smell of river water and sunscreen. Cicadas buzzed like a broken orchestra. A kid nearby accidentally launched a frisbee into a bush, dove after it, and yelled, I'm alive. When he found it, Evan watched the scene and felt something slow bloom inside him. A mix of relief, gratitude, and that thing he didn't want to name out loud, hope. Laura, he said after a moment, you know that motivational thing you said earlier? About flipping the energy. She nodded. Well, I think today flipped mine. She looked at him warmly. That makes me happy. I mean, I still hate grocery carts, he added. Balance, she said. Life is about balance. They sat quietly for a moment, content, warm, peaceful. The kind of peace that didn't erase chaos but coexisted with it. The kind of calm that came only after everything went wrong, and then somehow went right. Evan smiled. Funny how one bad moment can lead to a whole chain of good ones. That's how life works, Laura said. Sometimes the thing that falls apart is the thing that nudges everything else into place. He nodded slowly. And in that small, sun-drenched moment by the river, the universe seemed to wink at him.
Daily happiness and motivation is hitting in. Like and subscribe.